good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back with you on this beautiful Wednesday morning, the 18th of March, 2026. We are more than an hour late. Why? Because I was busy trying to make sense and understand what the decision from CAF means to overturn Senegal's victory and award the AFCON 2025 trophy to Morocco. So, and in the wake of that, we did put out a video a couple of minutes ago explaining or trying to make sense of that decision. So you can go over to the video section and watch that one as we speak. It's just premiered a couple of minutes ago, so please feel free to go over there and try and watch that and let us know what your thoughts are in that respect or in that regard. Otherwise, you'll allow me have our audios tested and make sure everything checks out before we proceed any further in this morning's broadcast. Otherwise, I hope you had a wonderful night. It was an electric night of UEFA Champions League football. One that did not end on a good note, because while it wrapped up, I was taken away by the news from CAF that they had made a boardroom decision to overturn Senegal's triumph in the Africa Cup of Nations 2025 to give the trophy to the hosts Morocco in a boardroom decision, something that literally never goes down well within the footballing community, with the football fans. I do not think it can be appreciated for what it is. So we're going to be discussing that briefly, but also, and while discussing that, I'll make you aware of what my thoughts and opinions are overall on that. But I just wanted you to take a keen interest in that video, because it does explain everything, the backdrop to it, the sort of background and what the rationale is for CAF to arrive to that kind of decision. So please go check it out. I'm going to put I'm trying to see if I can get that link and have it here in the comment box, so that you guys can have a look at it, and you let us know what your thoughts are as of this morning. So yeah, I come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, and it's about 20 minutes past 10 a.m. East African time of this beautiful morning. Now, like I said, there's only one place to start, even though we thought this morning would be about the UEFA Champions League, but it seems that there's plenty to discuss other than the Champions League because of that decision from CAF. So quickly, yesterday, CAF, or the Confederation of African Football Associations, did come out. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, did come out to announce that it had made the decision through its appeals board to award the AFCON 2025 trophy to the host Morocco, citing articles of 82 and 84 subsequently in violation, or based on the violations that there was in the final. So the backdrop to it is that we all remember what happened and in the final, and it's as unfortunate as it sounds. For me, the idea or the fact that the decision comes 2 months after the final, because today is the 18th, I seem to remember that the final was played on the 18th of January, is very, very disturbing, to say the least. So, where do I start? Because I do not want to take a lot of time explaining that when there's already a video that I've pinned for you guys to go and watch and make sense of that. So, anyways, so remember what happened in the final. Senegal were in disagreement of the decision to award Morocco a penalty, especially just moments after they had a goal disallowed. But to be fair, the goal wasn't disallowed, because a goal can only be disallowed if it is scored and then a decision is made after. But Senegal scored a goal after the referee had made a decision that there had been a foul in the area. So it doesn't count. That's why that incident could not be reviewed by the video assistant referee. That's plain and simple. Moments later, Morocco win a corner kick on the other side. It is floated in. Malik Diop fouls Brahim Diaz. Now, the referee does not see that in real time, and the referee was Jean Jacques Ndala Ngambo from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Whether he did not see that in real time or did not think that was enough to it for a penalty to be awarded, that's between you and I. But then he gets someone to the pitch side monitor. He reviews the incident and he comes back and says, Malik Diop, you've made a foul against Brahim Diaz. It's a penalty, which was the right decision to be made, in my opinion. Now, because of the incident that had happened earlier, which Senegal had deemed to be unjust for the game itself, in awarding that foul, which denied them a goal scoring opportunity, a goal that they went on to score, but it could not stand because the referee's whistle had already gone. They protested being awarded a penalty against them by walking off the pitch. Now, 10 minutes later or so, they come back, play on. A penalty is taken by Brahim Diaz. He misses it, or Benjamin Mendy saves it, whichever way you look at it, because he did a penalty, which did not work out. Game plays on, and when the game plays on, I think very early into the second, in extra time, Pape Agueye scores to make it 1-0, which is the goal that won eventually the game by 0-0. So Senegal are crowned champions of African football for the second time running. Their first coming in 2021. Medals are given, trophies awarded, they go back home, do a trophy parade. Now, because of the incidents that had happened prior to the final whistle in the game, both teams and federations were fined. And those fines read as follows. At least, I won't bore you with every detail, but in some of those fines, they included a ban or suspension for the Senegalese coach, that is Papa Thiaw, being handed a 5-match ban. Then players like Ilmani Ndiaye was given a 2-match ban, and then Ismail Sarr was given a 2-match ban, and Papa Thiaw was fined $100,000 for his violations or for misconduct, for putting the game in disrepute there. And then, in addition to that, the Federation of Senegal, that's the Senegalese football Federation, Senegalese de football, was fined $300,000 for the improper conduct of their supporters, which brought the game in disrepute. Remember, there was a fight or a brawl that did happen between fans outside or off the pitch, so that did happen. I can see, why is the video quality on YouTube streams so poor, even with a powerful and high performance phone like an S23 Ultra? That's a Premier. Well, I'm not too sure about that on your receiving end, because I, for one, the quality looks okay. Of course, because you're using a front camera, it's not going to be as good as if you are using your back camera. That's as simple as I can put it for you. So, anyways, to proceed further, the Federation of Senegalese football was further fined another $300,000 for unsporting conduct for their players and technical staff in violation of CAF disciplinary rules or principles of fair play and loyalty and integrity. And then an extra $15,000 for misconduct of the national team due to 5 players receiving cautions in that game. So those were the fines that were handed over to the Senegalese team. Now, Morocco, on the other side, did not walk away scot-free because they had shenanigans in that game. Their player, Ismail Sarabia, was a culprit. Their ball boys were culprits. Remember when they were fighting for a towel, and things like that. So Morocco themselves were fined. Achraf Hakimi was handed a 2-match official CAF ban, with one of the games being suspended for a period of 1 year. And then Ismail Sarabia was handed a 3-match ban for unsporting behavior. and then also fined $100,000. Then the Federation Royal Morocani de Football, that's FRMF, was fined $200,000 and then fined an extra $100,000 for improper conduct of the national team players and technical staff who invaded the VAR area, obstructing the referee's work. And that was in violation of Articles 82 and 83 of the CAF Disciplinary Code of Conduct. So, and then there was an extra $15,000 that was fined to them. So in total, their fines came down to about 415,000 grand, while that of Senegal had come down to about $615,000. So Morocco then appealed those decisions by the CAF disciplinary code, by the CAF disciplinary board. So when they appealed those decisions, the matter went to the CAF appeals board. So it's the CAF appeals board that yesterday then came out with the decision that we are now discussing, in which they announced, and I quote, that the CAF appeal board had decided that in application of Article 84 of the regulations of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, in brackets AFCON, the Senegalese national team is declared to have forfeited the final match of the Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations, in brackets AFCON, Morocco 2025, in brackets the match, in quotes, with the result of the match being recorded as a 3-0 in favor of the Federation Royal Morocani de Football. Now, I have seen videos of Moroccan football fans going wild in their respective cities celebrating this triumph. But on the rest of the continent, and perhaps in the wider world of football, it is not going to sit well that they have arrived to this kind of decision. Why? First of all, I'm going to go on and believe that it is a very unpopular decision, and I will tell you why it is unpopular, or why I feel it is unpopular. First of all, of course, the decision, they go on to dispel their decision further in explaining what has happened here, because, like I've told you, it's based on appeal. Now, first of all, it's taken them 2 months to arrive to this decision, 2 months after Senegal had celebrated their triumph. In the applications of the rules to the letter of the rules, CAF is right. Guys, hear me well. CAF is right in the application of the rules to the letter. But how about the optics? In the optics, because I come from a PR world of things, the optics do not look good. First of all, there was already stain left on African football when in the way the final played out. We all remember, like I've just explained it. There was that stain. And because the Senegalese players accepted to come back on and play on, and the game was left to play on by the referee, because we're going to understand what rules 82 or Article 82 and 84 state that CAF is citing against Senegal to have flouted, because that decision says that on the appeal of the FRMF regarding the application of Article 82 and 84 of the regulations of CAF, Africa Cup of Nations, the CAF Appellant Board made the following rulings. 1, the appeal lodged by the Federation of Moroccan Football is admissible and in form, and the appeal is upheld. Then the CAF disciplinary board decision is set aside, the earlier decision that they were appealing against. And then they go on to say that the CAF appeal board further finds that the conduct of the Senegalese football team falls within the scope of Article 82 and 84 of the regulations of CAF Nations, Africa Cup of Nations. So quickly, what does Article 82 and 84 talk about in general? Now, the articles that are being cited here by CAF, Article 82 talks about refusal to play and abandonment of a game. In other words, this article states that if a team refuses to play or leaves the ground before the end of the match without the permission of the referee, the team shall be considered a loser. Remember when I said in applying the rules to the letter, CAF is right? Now, this is the rules to the letter. First of all, we remember that Papa Thiaw, the head coach of the Senegalese national team, upon a penalty being awarded against his team in the later stages of the game for Malik Diof's foul on Brahim Diaz during a corner kick, he commanded his team or his players to walk off. They walked off, and a good number of them went to the dressing room. What went on was an exchange between touchline officials, people intervening, etc., until Sadio Mane went to the dressing room and summoned his players back, because he is the captain of the team. He calls the Senegalese players back. So they agreed to play on, and so did the Moroccan players. They played on, a penalty was taken and missed, and then the game went into extra time, and then we know what the result there was. So, according to Article 82, so the Senegalese players left the pitch without, remember, there are certain keywords here, refuses to play or leaves the ground before the end of the match. They did leave the pitch before the end of the match without the permission of the referee. There was no permission from the referee, Jean Jacques Ndala Ngambo from Democratic Republic of Congo. He did not give them permission to leave. So, in other words, they had violated this rule. So, therefore, in a team walking off in protest, as Senegal did, it triggers this, it qualifies for the violation of that rule. And then Article 84 talks about what sanctions are levied upon a team that behaves in such a manner as stipulated in Article 82. So in Article 84, in this particular case, it says, or it explains, and I quote, or I read as such, that it serves to enforce the mechanism for a team that forfeits through their conduct. In other words, a team that violates Article 82 loses the match by a score of 3-0 unless their opponent was already leading by a wider margin at the time of walk-off. In other words, for CAF to award 3 goals to Morocco and 0 to Senegal is fine. But had Morocco been leading that game by 4 goals to 0, then it wouldn't matter. They would still lose the game anyway, because the scoreline or the score margin for Senegal would have exceeded 3 goals already. Then the team is officially declared to have forfeited the match and is eliminated from the tournament. That is permanent elimination. This penalty talks about permanent elimination. That if you refuse to play or walk off the pitch before the game is ended without permission from the referee, you do qualify to be permanently eliminated. Then there is a fine and suspension that, in addition, or additional financial penalties and suspensions for coaching staff or players involved are usually triggered under this article in conjunction with CAF disciplinary code. That is the decision that the CAF disciplinary board had arrived at, against which Morocco then appealed to arrive to this new decision. So, in applying the rules to the letter, CAF is right. They're simply interpreting the rules as is and applying them. No rocket science. It sounds like the right thing to do. But for me, first of all, these rules could have been applied then, in the exact fine. I do not think the rules were alien to CAF officials or the referee himself when Senegal walks off. There and then, he could have decided to put the game to an end and says, you have violated these rules, and therefore you lose the game by forfeiture or by refusal to play. That's then. But of course, in a way, it sounds easier said than done, because all this happened in the heat of the moment. All this happened in the heat of the moment. However, we come into a tournament with all sides understanding what the rules are. Whether you're the Senegalese national team, the Moroccan national team, the referees, or the CAF officials, that should the team behave in a certain way, there are penalties for it, and the rules are well stipulated. It's like a code of conduct that participants abide by or agree to live by. In this particular case, Senegal violated the game. And I remember, and I said this, and I'll say it, it doesn't matter how bad a decision is from the referee on a match day. You walking off in protest of that decision will always leave the game in disrepute. And therefore, Senegal put African football in disrepute. A lot of people at the time, Wahidan says, hi, Wahidan. Whatever your feelings are about a decision from a match official, just or unjust or otherwise, by you walking away or off the pitch, you do put the game in disrepute. And that is what Senegal did. The question for me is, why did the referee or CAF officials there and then apply these rules of Article 82 and the subsequent Article 84 at the time? At the time, they chose, because it's not like these articles were written yesterday, they shoved them to the side. And Morocco agreed to play on in the same game, which they then lost by 1-0. To their embarrassment and in disbelief, they decide to go and say, okay, we have lost the final. We have a decision from the CAF disciplinary board because their ball boys misbehaved, Ismail Sarabia misbehaved, and so did Akraf Hakimi and the entirety of their team. And just as much as the Moroccan team also misbehaved. So they were both punished. In fact, when it came to the financial sanctions and match sanctions, Senegal had it the heavier because they were the orchestrators of all this. First of all, allow me to digress back to Jinjakwes Ndala Ngambo from DRC Congo as the match official. I did not think, in my humble opinion, that he had done anything so grievously wrong in that game up until that point. In other words, he had handled the game right well for me. And then he goes on to make an unpopular decision in calling for foul before Senegal score, which is not so alien in football because referees will get so many decisions wrong. And on the day, that was a bad call. But like I said, it was a bit of a 50-50 in his view, because unlike you and I, he does not have a benefit of a replay. So he makes judgment based on what he sees in a snapshot. So in that snapshot, he judged that there had been a foul, I think, on Akraf Hakimi. Albeit, we argue that it was the other way around. So he blows his whistle for a foul, and then Senegal go on to score. So that goal could not stand, nor could it be reviewed by VAR because he had blown the whistle before the ball hit the back of the net. Well on. Then when it goes the other side, as soon as that foul happens by Malik Diop on Brahim Diaz, he either does not see it in real time, or if he sees it, he judges that there is not enough in that for a penalty to be awarded until he gets someone to the monitor. And when he goes to the monitor, he makes the judgment that this should be a penalty. And in my humble view, or in my humble opinion, I believe that was a penalty. So, in other words, he made the correct decision in awarding the penalty. So, when he awards the penalty, Senegalese players were already aggrieved with the earlier decision that he had made because they thought it was unjust to them, and rightly so. So, it is okay, or at least it is, I believe, for me, I want to believe it is within the players' rights to defend their team or to protest a decision. How do you protest? Of course, you speak to the referee. Of course, modern day football rules do not allow players to crowd around the referee. They do not allow that. But usually, you protest the decision. You'll have a conversation with the referee. In the end, his decision will stand, and then you play on, even though you do not agree with the decision he's made. But in this particular case, those Senegalese players walked off the pitch. Now, that was not the right thing to do, in my opinion. No matter how hard they were aggrieved. A lot of people said, I remember during the final and in the immediate aftermath of the final that Senegal had saved African football from an embarrassment because they thought there was bad officiation. All throughout the tournament, we had seen decisions go in favor of Morocco. That's a given. As in, there's no debate about that. Because against Cameroon, they should have considered a penalty, and so did against Tanzania. Because against Cameroon, I believe that was in the quarterfinals, and against Tanzania, I think in the round of 16. But those penalties were not given. But the most blatant of them was for a foul on Brandon Bomo in the quarterfinals. As they played Cameroon, they went on to win that fixture by 2-0. So there was this prejudice that the game is being skewed or officiated in favor of the hosts. Now, again, it's not so alien in football for, quote unquote, a team to have a bit of a home advantage. However, the referee cannot overexercise that home advantage to the extent of refusing to award clear and obvious penalties. To the defense of the central referee, whoever they were in the quarterfinals, you would say maybe they did not see that in real time. VAR should have intervened. Perhaps they did not, or if they intervened, decided that it was not a penalty. But it was clear as day that it should have been a penalty. So, in arriving to the final, there was that bit of history about the biases of the game to skew it to the side of Morocco. So, there was that feeling. So, a lot of fans who reacted to that with the emotions of it, because we love this game so much, we love our football. They put their emotions ahead of them. And I completely understand where they're coming from. Like I said, there had been prior evidence to suggest that the game was being officiated to favor Morocco. You know, hi, Brohid. How are you doing, my brother? Good morning. So they felt that way. So by extension, they extended those biases into the final. For me, which I thought a final had been well officiated to a larger extent. I'm not saying it was perfect, but to a larger extent, it had been well officiated. You're saying I saw the AFCON thing disgrace, you know? So, the game, once they protest, and Papa Thia was the orchestrator of this, when he commanded his players to leave the pitch. As soldiers in a battlefield, you're going to listen to your commander, to your general, your captain, your lieutenant, whatever it is. He was the captain of the ship. So they hit to his demands and walked off the pitch. In walking off the pitch, their protest was larger than ordinarily players would protest an unjust decision in their own opinions. So later on, they agreed to come back and play on. So they play on, as did Morocco, playing on. Morocco were not innocent in all this. A lot of shenanigans had gone on, from Moroccan substitutes trying to fight for a towel, which was Benjamin's towel. I do not know why they did not want him to have a towel on a rainy day just to dry his gloves. I mean, that's just normal. Goalkeepers have towels almost all the time. And for me, in those incidents, the fourth official, who was Abongile Tom from South Africa, was culprit. Abongile Tom did not do enough to help Ginger Kwes Ndala to say, look here, there's something happening off of the pitch that I need to bring to your attention so that you weed out. You had ball boys fighting over towel. You had Ismail Salabia fighting with the Senegalese substitute goalkeeper over Benjamin's towel. And all those other shenanigans that went on the sidelines, because that is within the jurisdiction. Whatever happened with the fans, that's for the stewards to take care of, you know? So that did not happen. Meanwhile, Pierre Atcho was the VR referee, while Bongele Ngila and Gradel Mwanya Mbilizi, both from DRC Congo, were the first and second assistants, respectively. You say yesterday all the games basically ended at halftime, except the sporting one. Okay, there who is talking about the UEFA Champions League. We're going to get to that in a bit. I wanted us to wrap up on African football here because of that CAF decision. So, by the fact that Morocco accepted to come back and play on, and so did Senegal, it felt like it was water under the bridge. Everything had been swept to the side. Let's move on and play the game. See at the final, the winner is the winner. And Senegal won. They got their trophy, second AFCON trophy. Sadio Mane voted man of the tournament. Papa Gueye, man of the match for his goal. Yassine Bono, the Moroccan goalkeeper of the tournament, etc., etc. Brahim Diaz, I think, top scorer of the tournament. Now, and here we are today with this decision. Like I said, for all the optics, it does not look good on African football, especially that it is a boardroom decision. I do not think the wider world will accept that that Morocco are the just winners of the Africa Cup of Nations. But quickly, to move on, or before we move on, reports have emerged that Senegal will be appealing that decision, according to a communication that we've obtained from the federation, from the Senegalese federation there. And their statement reads as follows, briefly. The appeals committee also determined that the conduct of the Senegalese team fell under Article 82 and 84 of the African Nations Regulations. Consequently, CAF declared that FSF had violated Article 82 and awarded the match to Senegal against Senegal by forfeiture with a record of 3-0 in favor of Morocco. Blah blah blah. So it says that the Senegalese Federation denounces this unfair, unprecedented, and unacceptable decision, which discredits African football. To defend its rights and interests of Senegalese football, the Federation will initiate an appeal as soon as possible before the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Loussane. So there it is, confirming that the Senegalese Federation will be appealing the decision by CAF. They have legroom to appeal. This will go into the Court of Arbitration for Sport. But I think, for me, football should be served. On to France. Like I said, to the letter of the law, CAF is right. But the two things that happened. There's the letter of the law. There's also the spirit of the law. So those that are more conversant with the law will help us on that front. But Senegal will appeal the decision. And the mere fact that the CAF disciplinary board had come out and issued those fines and disciplinary sanctions on both sides, I thought should have been enough to say, okay, let's move on. Senegal have won. And we let it slide. Or we leave it at that. So, but unfortunately, or as unfortunate as you have it, we have a new decision that then we have to debate night and day to help football fans or regular football fans understand what it is, what it means for their teams and for the wider game. But anyways, you'll allow me move on from that. Like I said, you can go over to the channel. There's a full video. It's about 18 minutes, us explaining that decision that CAF have put through. I've commented with that video in the chat. It's pinned up there. You can save it and check it out later. So Allow us move on to the UEFA Champions League night, because it was an incredible night of a Champions League football, as Manchester City lost to Real Madrid by 2-1, while Arsenal beat up against Bayer Leverkusen by 2-0, and then Sporting CP overcame that 3-0 deficit from the first leg to win 5-0 after extra time, while PSG put 3 past Chelsea to win that tie. So the teams confirmed from yesterday that have advanced to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League are Sporting Lisbon, Arsenal, Paris Saint-Germain, and Real Madrid. Here's how it all happened. Where do we start? Let's start with Real Madrid. Bernardo Silva cost Manchester City the game because he got sent off with a red card upon VAR review in the 20th minute. What happened was, football, I don't know what players be thinking sometimes, is that Real Madrid go on an attack. Vinicius Jr. is trying to find the back of the net, and now you have what's his name? Gianluigi Donnarumma standing in goal. You have a goal post here, and then you have Bernardo Silva standing next to the post. So Vinicius Jr. fires his attempt on goal, and then Bernardo Silva, who had his hands behind, stretches out his elbow and prevents the ball from going into the back of the net, which is stopping a goal-scoring opportunity. Now, initially, the linesman had waved for an offside in the build-up to that moment. Upon VAR review, it was believed that there had not been an offside in the build-up to the moment. Therefore, we went to review Bernardo Silva's action. I think the referee was that French guy, the Clement, the one that looks like Leandro Trossard. So he summoned to the monitor to review the incident, and it was as clear as broad daylight that Bernardo Silva made an extension of his elbow to stop the ball from going into the back of the net. Therefore, a penalty was awarded against him, and for preventing a goal-scoring opportunity, he was given a red card. It's the correct decision to make. There's nothing about that. In other words, he let his teammates down as the day's captain. He gets sent off. A penalty is awarded against him. Vinicius Jr., who missed the penalty in the first leg, scores, and it's 1-0 for Real Madrid. And then in the 41st minute, Braut Erling Haaland scores to make it 1-1. Braut Erling Haaland missed an opportunity in the second half to make it 2-1 before Real Madrid themselves. Of course, they had scored in the 92nd minute, but that goal was ruled out by VAR. And then Vinicius Jr. scored again to make it 2-1 on the night. And that's how Manchester City lost. Manchester City themselves scored 2 goals that were ruled out by VAR for an offside. One was by Jeremy Doku, then the other was by the left back, Ryan Ashnory. So both goals were ruled out for offsides on the night. But I thought Manchester City, down to 10 men, did play okay. They played really okay. But as soon as they went down to 10 men, you knew that their chances were going to be limited, that their chances of going through were going to be very, very minimal. They had started really well in that game. They were attacking. Rodrigo Hernandez Cascante had forced, Thibaut Courtois into an early save, but it never counted. Then in the same quick play, Vinicius Jr. had hit the upright. When he hit the upright, the ball went off the post, hit in the back of Gianluigi Donnarumma, and it did not hit the target. And then they win the ball back, Real Madrid. And as he fires it on goal, that's when Bernardo Silva extends his arm to say that to handle the ball, to prevent it from going into the back of the net. So he gets sent off, and that was it. But overall, to be fair, I think if Manchester City had been full, 11 versus 11, I think they would have won the game. Maybe they wouldn't have gone through, that they would have still conceded goals anyway, but I thought they would have won the game. So it was an easy decision that Bernardo Silva made easy for the referee. It reminded me of what Mickey van der Ven almost did in pulling Ismail Sarr in their Crystal Palace's 3-1 victory against Tottenham Hotspurs. You're the last man defending. Ismail Sarr's gone through. Let him score, or give the goalkeeper the benefit of that he will save that attempt and play on. Keep yourselves 11 men on the pitch. So Bernardo Silva let his team down. And in the end, eventually, what Pep Guardiola resorted to was pulling out some of his best players and say, just go and get rested. We have a cup final to play on Sunday. So players like Brad Erling Haaland were taken off. Ruben Diaz was withdrawn at halftime to bring on the likes of Mark Kehi, among other changes that were made. So really, but yeah, there was a couple of missed opportunities, and even saves from Thibaut Courtois on the night to deny Manchester City. I thought, by the way, for a team that were down to 10 men, I thought they really, really went forward really well in terms of controlling the game. But eventually, it was never to be their night. They ended up losing that game. And that means for the second time, or for the second season in a row, Real Madrid have knocked out Manchester City. Last season, they knocked them out at the playoff rounds of the competition. So this time around, they've met at the round of 16 and they've knocked them out. So Real Madrid march on to the quarterfinals, and they will be waiting for whoever advances between Bayern Munich and Atalanta, and chances are high it's going to be Bayern Munich that come through, and therefore we could have quite a quarterfinal when Bayern Munich take on Real Madrid in that case. So who do you fancy will go through when we get to that? Did you see the Eze goal? Obviously, yes, so the Eze goal. That's who asking. But yeah. Of course, there was some good news there. Kylian Mbappe for Real Madrid came on, returning from that knee injury. I thought it was positive news for Real Madrid. Then who else? Maybe Jude Bellingham had returned in the match, but Pep Guardiola looked on in disbelief as that ball went in, as Vinicius Junior scored. He looked on in disbelief, so much in disappointment. That ball, I think, was floated in by Tchouaméni. He was the one who provided the assist, as Manchester City lost home and away to Real Madrid to get knocked out of the UEFA Champions League. So that was the case from there on. But the goal did stand. Anyways, moving on. In the early kickoff, yes, Sporting Lisbon beat up against Bodo Glimt by 3-0 in normal time to send that game into extra time. Goals from Goncalo Inacio, Pablo Goncalves, as well as a penalty from Luis Suarez. The goals coming in the 34th minute, 61st minute and 78th minute were enough to restore parity in terms of aggregate score between Bodo Glimt and Sporting CP to send the game into extra time. And in extra time, Araujo, he's called Maximiliano Araujo, and Nuno Santos. Sorry, not Nuno Santos. He's Rafael Neil Ferreira did score to make it 5-0, and Sporting Lisbon went through. They will be meeting Arsenal in the quarterfinals. They did meet Arsenal last season, I think, in the league phase, and they beat up against, and Arsenal beat them 5-1. But this is going to be a different ball game together when it comes to the quarterfinals or at the knockout phase. We know that Sporting CP knocked out Arsenal from the UEFA Europa League back in 2022, for those of you that do remember. But it was a very beautiful game of football, very dominant performance from Sporting CP. They had as many as 14 shots on target. They had 13 shots off target. That's a combined total of 27 shots attempting to find the back of the net. They had 11 blocked shots compared to Bodo Glimt's 3 on target, 4 off target, and 2 blocked. They dominated possession to the tune of 66%. Everything they did on the night was brilliant. Bodo Glimt on the other side, they had some missed opportunities, one hitting the crossbar and things like that. But it was never going to be the Norwegians' night. Now, That's the second time that Sporting Lisbon have recovered from a three-goal deficit in the UEFA Champions League. The first time they did it was in the season of 1983-1984. They lost to Manchester United by 4-1 in the first leg and then won the reverse fixture by 5-0. In other words, they advanced to the next stage 6-4 on aggregate. So that was in 1984. I think that game was played on the 18th of March. So looks like, and this is the second time in the history of Sporting CP to reach the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. So that set themselves a date with Arsenal. Speaking about Arsenal, Arsenal managed to overcome Bayer Leverkusen, beating them by 2-0. A brilliant goal from Eberechi Eze in the first half and another good strike from Declan Rice in the second half were enough to seal the victory for the Gunners in a game in which very late on David Raya was called into action and he had to make an immaculate save. Arsenal dominated the key affairs of the game, although Bayer Leverkusen, according to the statistics, edged them on ball possession to the tune of 58% compared to Arsenal's 42%, but Arsenal had 12 shots on target. 5 off target and 4 shots blocked, compared to Bayer Leverkusen's 2 on target, 5 off target and 2 blocked. So those shots on target are what tell you how Arsenal were intentional. They played some really, really good football. For all the criticism they faced in recent times of playing conservative and boring football, well, yesterday they tried to turn the heat up. They were very attacking. They were very dominant in that first half, even though they were struggling to find the back of the net. And it took a spectacular strike from Eberechi Eze for the Gunners to get ahead in that one. But I thought there were some really, really commendable performances in that game. For example, Eberechi Eze, I thought he had a brilliant game. Martin Zubimendi, I was really, really impressed by him. Gabriel Magalhaes, I thought he had a really, really good game. What's the other player? Leandro Trossard. Yeah, I thought he was all over the pitch. He was very, very mobile on the day. And it was simply impressive to watch Eberechi Eze on the night. Then Ben White, for a player that was returning for the first time from injury, I thought he did okay. He did really, really well. But oh my, Leandro Trossard, what a night it was for him. He may have not scored, but he came so close so often to scoring. He called Blaswich into action on a few occasions here and there. Excuse me. Then Declan Rice, very good performance from him. Never stopped running. He got a free kick for which he went direct and forced a Blaswich into a brilliant save. So, but yeah, Arsenal were all over Sporting CP. They really, really attacked them. I think in the first half, Leandro Trossard called Blaswich into some beautiful saves, at least on 3 different occasions. So that's how good he was. Yeah, I think, I don't know, if I had to give my man of the match performance, I'd really struggle, but it would have to be between Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Magalhaes, because I really, really thought he was so solid in the back, Eberechi Eze. And by the way, Victor Gyökeres, he may have not scored, but he really played well. He also played well. His hold-up play was good. He made the right runs. Oftentimes, he was not found, but he was really, really good. But then that goal from Eberechi Eze in the first half, the way he receives the ball, controls with his left, makes a turn, and strikes it with his right foot, and it hits the back of the net, was really, really impressive to watch. In the end, Arsenal managed to win that game by 2-0. And yeah, they marched to the quarterfinals for the 3rd consecutive season. A lot of people think Arsenal are among the favorites to win this season's UEFA Champions League. I do not know whether they will do it, but they have a Sporting Lisbon in the quarterfinals. If they can get past that, then we'll wait and see what comes next for them. There's a certain expectation that on the other side of the arm of their side of things that Barcelona will get over Newcastle and then meet Atletico de Madrid, for which they will get past and meet Arsenal in the semi-finals. That's people's the quick mental prediction based on how the draw is set aside. I do not think it is impossible. I think the reason as to why they say that is because Barcelona are the only team on that side, by the way, of the UEFA Champions League running that have won the UEFA Champions League. They've won it 5 times. On the other side, you have teams that have won it 36 times. Real Madrid 15 times, Liverpool 6 times, Bayern Munich, I think 5 times. You have you had Manchester City who have won it once. You have PSG that have won it once and things like that. So really, is it 36 times? I don't think it is 36, by the way. I need to find out. When you look at that side of things, when it comes to winning it, Bayern Munich have won it 6 times, not 5, 6. So you have between Bayern and Real Madrid, you have 21. Then who else? PSG 1. Oh, you had Chelsea with their 2. PSG 1, Chelsea with their 2. That makes it 3. That's a total of 24. Galatasaray, have they ever won it? Not to the best of my knowledge. You have Liverpool that have won it 6 times. That's 30. Yeah, maybe. But beautiful stuff there. So Arsenal do advance, and it is what it is. So they will meet they'll meet Sporting CP in the quarterfinals. Then PSG advanced to the quarterfinals after beating Chelsea by 3-0. A poor Chelsea side, very, very poor. In the first quarter hour of the game, they conceded 2 goals through Kivica Kvaratskhelia and Bradley Barcola. But that strike from Bradley Barcola, oh my. No wonder he mocked them when he went with a Didier Drogba Invincibility celebration in that one, while the other goal was scored in the second half through Arsene Mayuru, who was a second half substitute. But beautiful game of football, really. I thought Chelsea did not compete well enough. They eventually picked themselves up and fought on better, especially after the first 20 minutes, for which they had a very, very poor display. On a number of occasions, they called Matevi Safonov into some good saves, but they could never get it over the line. PSG dominated possession to the tune of 55%, but Chelsea had 9 shots on target. They could not convert with any. PSG had 5 on target, 3 off target, just as many as Chelsea having 3 off target. They had 6 blocked shots with none for PSG. So PSG were not overly dominant. They were just effective in the game. They got their early 2 goals to demoralize Chelsea's spirits. Chelsea grew in the game after the 20th minute and onwards, but it never really felt like it was that Chelsea night. So they bow out, and it's another Premier League team that has bowed out. So that means you have Manchester City and Chelsea already out of the UEFA Champions League. You have them already out of the UEFA Champions League. So, I mean, it's what should I say? It's been difficult for Premier League teams, to be fair. So far, it's Arsenal that have gone through. Today, we wait for Newcastle and Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspurs. So out of the 6 teams that finished within the top 8 of the UEFA Champions League, only one thus far has advanced to the quarterfinals. And Man City let themselves down. PSG knocking out Chelsea, 8-2 on aggregate. I think is one of the worst aggregate scores I've seen in such a long time. Of course, we remember Bayern Munich knocking out Arsenal, 10-2 on aggregate, winning 5-1, 5-1 in home and away fixtures. Then we do remember the time Bayern Munich put 7 past Barcelona. Then there's the time Real Madrid knocked out Bayern Munich. Was it 7-4? I don't remember. So those are some of the heaviest defeats you will see. There's some of the heaviest aggregate scores you'll see in a UEFA Champions League playoff round when it comes to the knockout stages. But the first goal, long pass from Safonov, Mamadou Sarr could not deal with it, and then Kivica Kvaratskhelia got the better of him and he scored. So beautiful goal, and it's 1-0, and that was as early as the 5th or 6th minute. Then PSG win the ball back in the midfield. They go on a quick counter-attack, and Achraf Hakimi provides the assist for Bradley Barcola, goes for the top corner, and it's 2-0. That was in the 15th minute. So really, small bodies, big brains. That's how I describe PSG players. Most of them look small. Robert Sanchez could only be seen waving his arms around in disappointment and disbelief of his Chelsea defenders because he thought they had not done enough to keep PSG at bay. But it is what it is. So, guys, I do not have much to add on to that when it comes to that. Raymond says hi. Newcastle versus Barcelona versus Newcastle United. Ramsdale in goal. Lewis Hall at left back. Trippier at right back. Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton, Sandro Tonali, and Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy, and Gordon to win it for Newcastle United today. That's from Raymond Kangumba. Now, he does enlist quite a strong starting 11 for Newcastle. I wait to see if they will have that preferred midfield trio of Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, and Joelinton. Over the weekend, as they beat Chelsea by 0-0, they had that midfield rested because we saw Joe Willock starting that midfield alongside who? I don't remember who it was. Meanwhile, by the way, PSG had some goals ruled out there, but they could have easily beaten Chelsea by 4. Jesus Christ. Football is cruel. Or can be cruel, really. Can be cruel. And that was only in the first half. So let's move on to today's fixtures because the action does continue today. The action does continue today, and the early kickoff at 8:45 p.m. is going to be between Barcelona and Newcastle. Big game. I think this is Newcastle's biggest game of the season, and they will be desperate to win it. They will be desperate to make history at the Camp Nou. And by the way, guys, let me tell you, you remember the path that I've just talked about on that arm of the side of the UEFA Champions League, amongst which teams Arsenal could face. The last thing Arsenal would want on that arm of things is to meet Newcastle or Tottenham Hotspur anywhere in the UEFA Champions League. Not because those two teams are stronger than Arsenal, but because they know it will be a tall order on them. It will be a really, really difficult tie if they were to be drawn against any Premier League teams. So I think in Arsenal's humble prayer, as they take care of their business, they will be hoping that Spurs are eliminated and Newcastle are eliminated. So let's wait and see what Barcelona bring at the Camp Nou to today. But that's the early kickoff at 8:45 p.m. East African time. Here's how I expect teams to assemble in as far as things go. First of all, Barcelona, in my predicted lineup, you'll see Joan Garcia in goal, Ed Garcia, Pau Kubasi, Gerardo Martin, and Joao Cancelo. I expect to see Pedri, Marc Beno, and Dani Olmo in that midfield. Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and maybe Fermin Lopez to start ahead of Robert Lewandowski there. Then on the side of Newcastle, Bruno Guimaraes, last I checked, was still out through injury. He has a hamstring strain. Lewis Bailey, Fabian Schär, Joe Willock has a thigh issue, and Emil Kraft. Do not be surprised if any of them return. But Newcastle will have Aaron Ramsdale in goal, Lewis Hall at left back, Dan Ban, Malik Thiaw, Kieran Trippier, Jacob Ramsey, Sandro Tonali, and Joe Wellington, Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, and Anthony Langa. I do not think I would change anything on that. But because for me, the reason as to why I want Newcastle to start with Harvey Barnes, Anthony Gordon, and Anthony Langa is they're so fast. So for a team that plays counter-attacking football, I do not think Newcastle should be changing their script of how they approach their home game against Barcelona. You're going to sit back a little bit in a middle block, not in a low block. And once you win that ball back, you're going to go sprinting. In the first leg, it was William Osula that started ahead of Anthony Gordon. So I don't know what decision Eddie Howe will make eventually. But they executed that plan really, really well. William Osula and Anthony Elanga. And Harvey Barnes scored in that game before they conceded the penalty that Lamine Yamal converted. So it will be really, really an interesting game to watch. And the beauty for me, or the beauty of it for me, is that it comes in the early kickoff, so I get to watch it without any pressure whatsoever, without any distractions. So it was a game I'll be concentrated on before the other three games. So then Barcelona got to dominate possession. I think they will be more comfortable playing at home. What Newcastle ought to remember is that the Camp Nou will feel large, or large they are accustomed to. But if Newcastle are to get a good result out of Camp Nou, all their players need to be at the top of their game. Not standout performances. Whereas Barcelona, on the other side, in all their collective responsibility, I think they need Lamine Yamal to stand out. They will need Rafinha to be at the top of his game, and Pedri in that midfield. So, but yeah, I expect Barcelona to dominate possession. I have an inclination that Barcelona will win this fixture by 2-1 or 3-1 and advance to the quarterfinals. But it is football, anything is possible. Newcastle could surprise us. Then Bayern Munich will be up against Atlanta. Bayern Munich have injuries to majority of their goalkeepers. So when you see Leonard Prescott in goal, do not be surprised. Joseph Stanisic, Kim Min-jae, Jonathan Tah, Tom Bischoff, Leon Goska, Pavlovic, Leonard Karl, Sergi Gnabry, Luis Diaz, and Nicholas Jackson. Do not be surprised. However, I'd fancy, for me, Michael Olise to start. Oh, but Michael Olise is going to be suspended for having accumulated 5 yellow cards. So is Joshua Kimmich. So they are out through suspension. Jamal Musiala apparently has an ankle injury. Then Alphonso Davies, this one got injured in the first leg. In Italy, Seven Juric, that's the goalkeeper, suffered an injury. So Manuel Neuer is out with a calf injury and things like that. So do not expect to see all those. Then Yunus Musa is out through disciplinary issues for the side of Atlanta, while Giacomo Raspadori has a thigh injury. So expect to see Marco Casenecchi, a goalkeeper that was linked with a potential move to Manchester United in the summer. Expect to see the likes of Odlon Kosonou. Expect to see the likes of Sid Kolasinac, David Zappacosta, Mario Perisic, Martin Deron. Expect to see players like Smadzik, maybe Skamaka, Nikola Zelewinski, Kristovic, who scored the only consolation. Nikola Kristovic, this one scored against in their 1-1 draw against Inter Milan over the weekend. Nikola Kristovic to lead the lines there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Gianluca Scamacca there to lead the lines for Rafael Paladoni's side there in that game. So either way, I expect Bayern Munich to advance. This second fixture may not be as easy for them as it was in the first leg, but I do still fancy Bayern Munich to advance to the quarterfinals. Then Liverpool Galatasaray. Liverpool Galatasaray, very, very big game of football. We know about Liverpool's pedigree, but we saw them squander a 1-0 lead against Tottenham Hotspur over the weekend before they shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, thanks to Richarlison, who scored that equalizer for Tottenham Hotspur. Well, a straight free kick or a direct free kick from Dominic Szoboszlai had given Liverpool the lead. I wouldn't want to see Dominic Szoboszlai start as the right back. I would want to see Arsene Ramsey's Baker in goal, go with Jeremy Frimpong right back, Milos Kakes left back, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahim Konate. If Ibrahim Konate is absent, start Joe Gomez, or if you need to a right back, Joe Gomez can play right back, and then Gravenberch, McAllister. I would rather they start with Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Florian Wirtz behind Hugo Ekitike, then Mo Salah and Riongo Moha on the other side, or Cody Gakpo. That's how if I were Arne Slot, that's how I would assemble my team. I would sacrifice one McAllister in this one from starting, really, because I think that gives Liverpool a bit of more attacking freedom. But I wouldn't play Szoboszlai at right back. Then on the side of Galatasaray, expect to see players like Lucas Torreira, Mario Lemina, Noah Lang, Gabriel Sara. This one has been summoned to the Brazilian national team. Victor Osimhen, Yilmaz. Expect to see players like Davinson Sanchez is suspended for this fixture, having accumulated 5 yellow cards, so do not expect to see him. Then Roland Salai. Then their goalkeeper, Kaki, expect to see him there. Raymond says, he says, hi, Harvey Barnes and Anthony Elanga and Anthony Gordon. It is a win for Newcastle United for now. From Ray, he goes on to say, I think I've read that comment. Thank you so much, Raymond. I think he was re-emphasizing a point that we made earlier on, that Newcastle need to rely on their speed, on the speed of their front three, and that front three of Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes, and Anthony Elanga can be quite pacey. They can run literally all night. So it will be interesting to watch how that all plays out. Then, so Liverpool have some injuries. Of course, Conor Bradley, Alexander Isak has been out for quite some time. Wataru Endo, Giovanni Leoni, Stefan Bajcetic, this one has been out literally for the entire season. Anyways, so Liverpool just need to win, first of all, by 2-0. They lost the first leg by 0-0, so they're 1-0 behind on aggregate. They would want to avoid conceding fast, but I do not think their deficit is too big to overturn. However, their head-to-head record against Galatasaray isn't the best, because they've played Galatasaray about 7 times, and they've only won once. And that win came. You have to go back to 2006, when they beat up against Galatasaray at home by 3-2 after, while they lost in the reverse fixture by a similar scoreline. There's been 2 draws. You have to go back to 2002, a 1-1 draw away in Istanbul, and a goalless draw that had happened at Anfield. Then one of those ties was a club friendly that was played in 2011. Galatasaray beat Liverpool by 3-0, while on the last 2 occasions this season in the league phase, and then in the first leg of the round of 16, Galatasaray won those fixtures by 0-0 with goals from Victor Osimhen at the league phase and Mario Lemina in the first leg of the knockout. So Liverpool will need to summon all their strength to see that they get the better of Galatasaray to go and possibly book a date with Paris Saint-Germain, a team that I'm sure they would want to orchestrate a revenge against, because last season it was PSG that knocked out Liverpool at the round of 16. So there are chances that those two could meet at the quarterfinals of this season's UEFA Champions League. So let's wait and see how well the Liverpool will compete today. Then the other game will be between Tottenham Hotspur at home against Atletico de Madrid. We know that Tottenham Hotspur lost by 5-2 from the first leg, thanks to their their own mistakes by the goalkeeper. What's his name? Antonin Kinski, and then the slip from Mickey van der Ven. Again, I do not expect Igor Tudor to change much. However, I would want to see him play with a back four as opposed to a back three. Go with Vicario in goal, play Pedro Porro for as long as he's available at left back, play Dejat Space at right back, go with Roddy Dragson and Mickey van der Ven in that centre back pairing, go with you play, let's say, Joao Paulinho. I would go with Conor Gallagher if you were available, and Pape Matsa ahead of Achai Gray. But we know that Tottenham Hotspur have a long list of injuries. Lucas Bagville, Destin Udogi, Joao Paulinho has been out through a head injury. Christian Romero with a head injury apparently. Mamad Kudus through a hamstring for quite some time now. Rodrigo Bentancur, Yuvis Bissouma has a muscular issue. Ben Davis, Conor Gallagher, he had an illness. I think he should be back for this one. Dejan Kulusevski, James Maddison, Wilson Odegaard with an anterior cruciate ligament injury. Unfortunately, Wilkerson will miss this one through suspension, so do not expect to see him up front. Expect to see Dominic Solanke, Rando Kolomwani, maybe Xavi Simons, players like that. On the side of Atletico de Madrid, John Oblak is out with a muscular injury, as well as Pablo Barrios and Rodrigo Mendoza. So expect to see Joan Mosso in goal, David Henko, Robin Lee Norman. This one scored the fourth goal in that first leg. Mark Pibol, expect to see Matteo Ruggeri at left back, Ademola Lookman, Marcos Llorente, Johnny Cardoso, and Giuliano Simeone, Julian Alvarez, and Anton Griezmann or Alexander Soroth. A very, very attacking team you should expect from Atletico de Madrid in that game. Tottenham's performance against Liverpool over the weekend was, to be honest, quite encouraging. I thought they competed well. They stayed in the game, even when they went a goal down, they did not allow to concede. But that was due to the lack of clinicalness from Liverpool. I thought they had all the opportunities to score the second goal, but could not make it count, which eventually came back to haunt them. Atletico de Madrid is not the kind of team that you want to give so many chances, because they are capable of converting their chances through Julian Alvarez, who scored a brace in the first leg, Anton Griezmann, who can be quite sharp in front of goal, and the player they will have to worry about is Marcos Llorente. Sometimes he played at right back, he pops sometimes in midfield, knows to pop in the right areas, and can score a goal against you. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in a 2-2 draw. Maybe I'm too hopeful in Tottenham Hotspur, but for those of that bet both teams to score, but Aston, I'm a bit skeptical about Atletico de Madrid, because their away form in the UEFA Champions League and against English opponents hasn't always been great. But we'll have to wait and see. So, anyways, we'll get to that. Yeah, well, I will be looking forward to that fixture. I don't know. Could Atletico Madrid nick it by 3-2? Could be. But for all intents and purposes, they will be desperate to avoid conceding fast, Tottenham Hotspur. But they're so prone to errors that I won't be surprised if they do concede fast. So anyways, guys, allow me to wrap it up here. And thank you so much, Primera 6, Wahidan, thank you so much, who Thank you so much. And Raymond, Kangumba, and every single one of you that has been part of this morning's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening in. Those that liked the broadcast, those that submitted comments, those of you that didn't take any of those actions but still stayed around and watched, we do not take your love and support for granted. Thank you so much. Those that have recently subscribed to the channel, we say welcome to the Football Tribe UG channel. We hope you get to enjoy your stay with us. You enjoy our company. Watch our content, guys. Watch the content. Watch the full video. Please continue supporting us. We have certain milestones that we want to hit. So please help us in our growth, in our development. Keep supporting the channel. And to those of you that watch our live broadcasts long after they've ended, we do not take your love and support for granted. So keep doing us the absolute honors and favor and watch it, all of it. When you land on a 1 hour video, watch the entire 1 hour. Watch the entire 1 hour. You do us a great good when you do that. So thank you so much. Allow me wrap it up here, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Enjoy that action from the UEFA Champions League. Do not forget to go over to the video section and watch those videos. Like I've told you, we did a video about that CAF decision, so you can go and watch it and give us your opinions and views down in the comment section. So we'll be back tonight at 11 p.m. To do the watch along for the UEFA Champions League games, but also because that broadcast will start in the aftermath, possibly, of the Barcelona game, unless it does go to extra time. If it remains goalless, like yesterday, Sporting Lisbon sent us into extra time, and by the time we started the 11 p.m. kickoffs, they were still playing. So yeah, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys next time. Is there anything that I've left out? Not that I can recall. Is this? I feel there's something that I was supposed to touch on. Maybe it's a topic that we'll get to discuss, but there are question marks being levied on Liam Rafinha. Somebody was making a joke that Chelsea got rid of Pep Guardiola's assistant in Enzo Maresca and went for a Wayne Rooney assistant because Liam Rafinha was an assistant coach to Wayne Rooney when he was at Derby County. Well, those are all jokes, but perhaps we'll find time and discuss Chelsea and see, did they make the right decision in appointing Liam Rafinha? Is he the best candidate they could land on? Was it the right decision to part ways with Enzo Maresca? It's a decision I, for one, criticized that they could have resolved their issues, but they decided otherwise, and it is what it is. So Chelsea fans and Chelsea have to live on with Liam Rafinha, who I do not think is a bad coach. It's just that PSG have made him look like a rookie. Yeah. So allow me to wish you a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye, guys. Until next time. So, yeah, just keep it locked on the Football Tribe UG channel. Stay blessed.